Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, maybe you already know that I have begun a series, a year-long series. You know, I'm prone to year-long series, right? I've begun a series that I call A Different Kind of Decan Walk. And I've made my own little hashtag, who knows what's going to happen, but I'm calling it A Different Kind of Decan Walk. And why am I calling it A Different Kind of Decan Walk? First, I'm going to assume you know what a Decan Walk is. A Decan Walk is where we walk through the year, through the zodiacal calendar, through each one of the decans, which means that each one of the zodiac signs is separated into 10-day periods. Okay? And so we walk through this year of 10-day periods, 10 or more, plus or minus, and we look at the tarot cards that are associated with each one of the decans. And those are the minor arcana. Now, why is it a different kind of Decan Walk? Well, because if you have been out there and looked at quite a few of the Decan Walks that are progressing now or that have been recorded in years past, you'll notice that the decans and the cards associated with those decans are generally those that were described by the Golden Dawn. Just in case you don't know, the Golden Dawn is the group, the society of occultists that included people like Arthur Edward Waite, Aleister Crowley, and Pamela Coleman Smith, among many others. So this society, as part of their practice, was using tarot. And they came up with a system that they developed from other traditions that was based on a particular kind of astrological chart. Astrological wheel, not chart. Yes? I'm not using that. So, the system that I am working with, which is a system, and I did not make it up all by myself, the system I am working with is not the most common or the most popular system out there. So, if you follow this progression through the decans with me, and you run into one of the number of other people who are also doing a Decan Walk, and you think, well, no, that's not right, well, now you know why it's different. Not incorrect, but different. Mine is a different kind of Decan Walk. So, if you're here for this journey with me, thank you very much. If this journey confuses you, I'm sorry. I'm doing a different kind of Decan Walk. Okay? So, now, I got a complaint, a suggestion last night from one of the people that I am coaching with tarot, and he was uncomfortable with the amount and the organization of the information that I laid out in the previous video, the first decan. And remember, the inspiration to begin this Decan Walk was pretty sudden for me. If you saw my announcement video and my first video for the first decan, you will notice that. And so, I'm organizing as I go. Yes, I'm maybe not smart enough to be able to figure out all of this stuff all at once. I've got to work it through as I go. So, he mentioned how it was difficult to follow along and it was too much information at once. So, what I have decided to do is I'm going to break down this video into smaller clumps of information. I'm still going to cover the same information, but I'm going to do it in smaller clumps and maybe clearer clumps. Yeah, in my mind, it was in clumps for the first video, but it was not clear enough for other people, and I understand that. So, what I'm going to do from now on is, first I'm going to do a recap, which I'm all ready for, We're about to get into the recap for the previous decan, which was the first decan of Aries, Mars in Aries. Then I'm going to introduce the general characteristics of the decan using several sources. Yes, I'm going to use sources such as these two books, and they're going to be in the description box below. Yes, and I'm going to read a little paragraph from one of these books every time we begin a video. Then I'm going to pull out an oracle card for this decan, and we'll talk about that oracle card and how it may unpack the decan just a little bit more. And then we're going to look at the card, the one card that this decan is associated with. That might actually be backwards. Yeah, this decan is, no, that's correct. The decan is associated with the card. And then we're going to bring in the two major arcana cards, which inform that central minor arcana card. And I'll tell you how they inform that minor arcana card later on in the video. And then as a last step, I'm going to pull out a spread to help us unpack this decan with a different deck. So do you understand that there are, how many stages did I describe? First, we talk about the decan. Then we talk about the decan a little bit more with the help of an oracle card. So those are two. 3, we pull out the minor arcana card alone and talk about how those things inform the minor arcana card. And then we bring out the two major arcana cards and see how those inform the minor arcana card, which is the key for the decan. And then lastly, we're going to lay a spread. Now, that's a lot of information, yes? You don't have to use all of this information when you do your decan walk if you want to do your decan walk. You can stop with just listening to the information of that one minor arcana card and go on your merry way and see how that card plays out for you in your life for the next 10 days. Or how the experience you have in your life during those next 10 days echoes what we understand about the card. Now, if that seems okay for you and you want to expand a little more, then you can start looking at the two major arcana cards which inform that minor arcana card. And you can add information about the tree of life if you want to, which I will talk about. But you can ignore it if you want. It's all your choice. You can play as you go. Yes? And remember, you don't have to get this all in one video. You don't have to get this all in one sitting. We're going to be playing with this for a year. So allow your knowledge, your understanding to increase in incremental steps as is comfortable for you. Just so you know, I'm not even talking about all the possible things that are associated with each decan. I'm not looking at the court cards. I'm not looking at the tens. Yes? Save that for next year. Believe it or not, I'm actually limiting the information I could be talking about. But I am learning as we go as well. The reason I decided to start this decan walk in the first place is because I have rediscovered for myself these esoteric associations to the tarot, different from the Golden Dawn. And I've done a whole series on that, explaining that, unpacking it. And if you want to see that series, which I recommend, I'll put a card up here for you to be able to hop on over and take a look at that series. There are a number of videos which help explain how I am associating zodiac, elements, the tree of life even a little bit, not much, but with, oh yes, a little bit the tree of life with the tarot. So If you want, go dive into that as well. But you don't have to. And the reason why I'm doing this series is to help me really embody, to absorb all of that information that I organized during that video series. This is a series for me as well as you. Yes, my walk through the decans with this reorganized system of esoteric associations is for me to really absorb it, to understand it, to be able to implement it in the future. Yes, so I'm here for me as well as you. And I'm learning as I go. So I invite you to come learn along with me. Yes? So friends, let's start off now with last week's spread and talk about that. Just a second. Let me show you what last week's decan looked like. And I'll put those cards up here for you to see again. Yes, so last week's decan were these cards. Remember, we had the Ace of Wands in the center, the Hierophant, and the Emperor card. Right? The Hierophant was associated with Aries. The Emperor is associated with Mars. The Ace of Wands is Mars in Aries. Right? So how did I see these things play out in my world? And I invite you to tell us how these played out for you in your world, in the community tab, or here in the comments below. Yes? So for me, what did I notice? Well, one thing, yeah, flowers were blooming during this 10-day period. Yeah, we got Forsythia just suddenly appeared all over the place. Magnolias just started blooming a couple of days ago. Yeah, so that burst of new life and new creativity, that infusion of new life of the Ace of Wands with Mars and Aries was in the natural world as well. And it was very sudden in the middle of this 10-day period, which was wonderfully surprising and exciting. Internationally, we saw how governments, especially the United States and Israel, have been acting more impulsively than ever before. Not saying that this is a new thing, but it has really ramped up. Yes, impulsive decisions to attack other countries. Without careful planning, without seeing how well we're going to be able to accomplish whatever it is we're starting, they desire to just, well, let's start. Yes? Was very visible, I think, in the news. On the more local level for me here in South Korea, we're going to be having elections, local elections, in a couple of months. And suddenly, in this 10-day period, I noticed a lot of road construction happening. And it made me think, why? Why is suddenly all of this construction beginning? I realized, oh, well, because the current government, local government, wants the people around to see that they're actually doing stuff so that they get reelected, probably. But remember, this card is not for long-term plans, right? So another thing I noticed was, yes, there are new things, new construction happening, which I'm not sure how successful this plan is in the long run, because frankly, it is impeding traffic and it's annoying. And it's not only on the roads, it's also on the bike paths, which are important to me. And yes, they're blocking traffic. That doesn't make me happy. On the other hand, remember how this card also has that unfortunate side effect of starting things but not seeing them through a lot of the time? Well, I also noticed that, yes, new things are beginning, but things that had been begun in the past are not being completed. Yeah, so there was there's especially one large construction project on the road on my way to the library, which was started, frankly, years ago. And instead of using the money that they want to use to complete this one thing, they're starting a whole bunch of other new things, right? That is total first Decan of Aries. Also locally, I've noticed that drivers have been driving more impulsively on the roads in somewhat dangerous, if not just plain annoying ways. Yeah, pulling out into traffic when the road is not clear, and then stopping in the middle of the intersection because, well, they can't go any farther because the road is not clear. And then they block other people, right? Total impulsive driving. Now, on the more personal level, this series was begun, I think, as a prequel to the Decan. Yeah, it was an impulsive beginning, right? It was totally first Decan of Aries, this beginning of this journey. But something else that happened to me. Something else was part of my experience in this 10-day period. You recall, in the first video, the first spread I laid for the first Decan of Aries, the questions were responded to by the tarot with 2 water cards, 2 cups cards. Do you recall? Yes? We had the Queen of Cups, and then we had the 7 of Cups. Yes? Now, for me, the Queen of Cups is Scorpio. She is fixed water. Yes? Which is interesting because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so we've got Mars in there too. The 7 of Cups, I'm sorry, the 4, okay, so wait a second. I did 2 spreads. The one last week was the Queen of Cups and the 7 of Cups, yes? And 7 of Cups for me is the first Decan of Pisces, yes? The second spread I did in the middle of the week, because this felt unsettling to me. Why is there so much water in a spread laid to help unpack the Ace of Wands? Why is there so much emotion? Why is there so much unconscious information? So the second spread I laid, to try and help me get my head around this, also had 2 Cups cards come out, flanking a major Arcana card. Those cards were guess what? The Queen of Cups again, and the 4 of Cups. And I was scratching my head. Now, the 4 of Cups for me is also Scorpio, the first Decan of Scorpio. So I'm thinking, why is there all this water in the responses asking about the fire card? Yes, the fire card, the Ace of Wands. And then something triggered me, an itch to check something appeared. I suddenly felt the need to check, where is Mars right now in the astrological chart? I've never had the desire to check that before in my life, but suddenly seeing these water cards made me think, where is Mars right now? And I checked. And guess what? Mars, according to tropical astrology, which is what I'm generally following, Mars is in Pisces. Mars is in the water and has been in the water all this beginning of this Aries cycle. And Mars will not move into Aries astrologically until the very end of this Decan now. So, is that the reason why I've got all this water unpacking the Ace of Wands? because Mars, which is the ruler of Aries and is the key planet for the first decan, was in the water all this time? Maybe, maybe not. But it makes me think. Maybe it'll make you think too. Could be. So this is all very interesting to me, and this is helping me learn a lot about astrology. I'm not that good with astrology yet. But also about how maybe even the stars and the planets, the heavenly bodies, the lights in the sky, how they are informing us and how that expresses itself in tarot. Does that make sense? Okay, friends, so that was the recap for the last 10 days. Yes? And okay, so this video will actually come up before this next decan begins, so you get a chance to see it. But for me, to this point, that has been my experience of the first decan of Aries. Now, friends, are you ready for the second decan of Aries? Let's begin that right now. Let me show you the first card, the minor arcana card for the first decan of Aries. Sorry, I lied. That's not the minor arcana card, that is the oracle card, because that's what we're going to be doing now. Yes, we're just going to be talking about the decan. Then I'll bring up the Two of Wands. Okay, so decan, you saw the oracle card, but first let me tell you about the decan a little bit. Yeah, this is the second decan of Aries, which means it is keyed to Leo. So we have fixed fires, vital attributes entering the world right now. And entering our tarot card right now. The fixed aspect of cardinal fire. Leo is a fixed sign. The second decan is keyed to Leo. So Leo, the sun in Aries, is the second decan. Because the sun is the ruler of Leo. Does that make sense? Again, second decan, keyed to Leo. The ruler of Leo is the sun. So here we have the sun in Aries. Yes? So what does that mean? Well, the sun in Aries is, according to, let me bring this one up, because this card, this oracle card really does give a good summation of the decan. Yes? So what you see in the card is the knight and the dragon in fight mode, right? And according to the creator of this deck, that is a depiction of reckless heroism. Yes? The refusal to be deterred from battle. And some qualities for this decan, according to the creator of this deck and other authors, are a drive to prove ourselves by direct action. And not being satisfied with talking. We need to do things, yes? We are impatient to get things into action, to get things into motion. There is an impulsiveness, of course. We still have the Aries quality here, right? There's that impulsiveness that still resides in this decan. But our impulsiveness can lead to error. But in this decan, we also enjoy the process of getting ourselves out of a jam. So our impulsiveness can lead to problems, but we like getting ourselves out of the problems that we get ourselves into. So hang on, fasten your seatbelts, friends, because we're going into the second decan of Aries soon. People with this placement, yes, the sun in Aries, they do not shine in ordinary situations. Yeah, they work to bring about change, and they are vital. they have physical energy and they are self-aware, right? Their ego is all about their ego. They're aware of their ego. And their ego is important. They want to take action immediately. They're not very patient, right? But it's helpful if they can get themselves to take the time to think. They're not swayed by the opinions of other people. They have strong determination, and they have that determination to stay the course of life. And because of that, this decan is more able to follow through on things that they begin than the first decan is. Does that make sense? They're more capable of that fixed quality, is more energizes their ability to follow through on things that they begin. And they may have the need to work longer and harder than other people to be impressive. Yeah, they want to look good. You work so hard. Oh my God, you have so much energy. Oh, you do so many things. Oh, you're so creative. That's what they want to hear, right? And that's what this decan is pointing towards. Now, let me pull out a little bit of a, whoops, not this book, this book. Let me pull out a little bit of a quote from this book right here, because I think it's helpful. So, the second decan, or decanate, means the same thing, of Aries, is the Aries Leo, or Mars Sun decanate. Because of the fixed sign nature of this decanate, those with it prominent in the horoscope have more staying power and can complete whatever they start. So remember, we've got that fixed quality added into that impulsiveness that begins the first decan of Aries. There is organizational ability. Even Leos can organize stuff. And the capacity to hold the center of attention that gives those natives a special leadership talent beyond the temporary bravado of the pure Aries influence. Yeah, so the first decan of Aries is a lot of bravado, but the second decan of Aries, they're able to draw that attention and fill the role of leadership more fully. This is because of the influence of the sun and the fixed sign nature of Leo. Being a Leo sun sign myself, I'll agree to that. Now, so the other book I use has a one-sentence need for this decanate, which I always find very helpful. And the need for the second decanate, according to that other book, is the need to use energy for creative accomplishments rather than ego stimulation. Again, to use energy for creative accomplishments rather than ego stimulation. We're more aware of our egos. And our egos are important, but we don't need to stimulate the ego as much as the first decan. And we can shift that energy more into continuing and working on the stuff we want to work on in the world. Does that make sense? Okay, so friends, now, this time it's for real. Now I'm going to show you the card for this decan in the Minor Arcana. Here it is. Now friends, the reason that I'm putting up those images to break up the video a little bit is to help you. It's to help you find a section of the video so you can go back and re-watch that section whenever you want. And it will help you find that section more easily. But that card's right here, right? Okay, so what is the card? It is this card. It is the Two of Wands. And remember, this is a different kind of decanate, a decan walk. Other people are going to be looking at the Three of Wands. We're looking at the Two of Wands. Yes? And the Two of Wands is keyed to, again, the Leo Decan of Aries. So again, we have the Sun in Aries. The Sun is the ruler of Leo. The Sun in Aries. So we have the fixed aspect of cardinal fires, vital attributes, entering this card because of the associations we're making. Yes? So what does that mean? Well, for me, when this card is upright, we get the idea of choosing a direction. Where are we going to go? We choose, yes? And instead of it being an impulsive, I gotta do something, we have that potential to make a choice. And that choice will have more sticking power, I believe. In this card, we can finish what we begin. Now, we haven't necessarily gotten that far in the process yet, but we can. We have the potential to finish what we begin because we have done the work of making that choice. Yes? Which we see in this card. We can see that image in this card. We are able to make that decision of where am I going to direct my energy. There's an intensity. There's a nobility. There's a noble affection that is part of the leonine aspect of Aries, the Sun in Aries. And one thing to remember is that the Sun is naturally now in Aries because this is the time of the Aries Sun natal people, right? The Sun is in Aries. So this card is in total alignment with where we are in the zodiacal chart. Even though for the first decan, Mars was still not in its own domicile of Aries yet. And it will be entering as we finish this decan. Still, the Sun is here. And it's here in this card. Does that make sense? God, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so continuing on. There's a strong willpower with this card. There's the tendency to be a little bit self-centered, a little bit authoritative. Yeah, Leo's like that. There's a little bit of potential egotism with this card. I have the world in my hand, right? And a desire for prestige too. And maybe we can see that by him standing at the top of the castle parapets. Parapets? What is it called? You know, where he's standing here, looking out over this expansive territory that, whether it's his or not, he might be saying, this is all mine. Just like this world is all mine. A little egotistical, yes? That's possible here. So a question I would ask of this card, just of this card, is how should I direct my will in relation to whatever this thing I am focusing on? Yeah? How should I direct my will in relationship to whatever it is I'm focusing on when I'm looking through the lens of this card? Yes? Now, one more layer, don't freak out, one more layer with this card. Because we're in the second decan of a sign, we're going to take the ruler of that sign and place it in what is called its complement. You know, a complement, something that works well together. Like, you complement me, not meaning that you're saying nice things about me, but rather you complement me. Yeah, we work well together. So Mars, in its complement, Mars right now, which is the ruler of Aries, in its complement is in Taurus, believe it or not, which is the next sign over. So what does that mean? What does this tell us about this card? When Mars is in Taurus, our initiative is slowed into finding a direction. Yeah, Taurans are slow. They will not be rushed. They're going to move one step at a time with their own internal drive and determination to get stuff done in the world at their own pace, right? So with Mars here, Mars will not move quickly here. Yeah, Mars is going to slow, but with direction. Our willpower seeks stability, which echoes that fixed nature of the sun in Aries. We choose where to apply our energy, which is what we can see in this card, right? The choice of where am I going to apply my energy. That's also Mars in its complement of Taurus. And our energy wants to last. Now, we don't want to I'm sorry, I just went very sexual, and close your ears if you want to. We don't want to shoot our wad right at the beginning of the project, yeah? We want to come to a natural mutual satisfaction with what we're doing. Now, we don't want to just start, we want to see it through. Yes? Now, one thing to remember, well, why is this the complement? Let me just give you a little bit of quick, brief introduction to what that means. So, when we say a planet is in its complement, it means that it is in the sign which is ruled by its partner planet. It is in the sign which is ruled by its partner planet. Yes? So, Jupiter's partner is Mercury. You don't have to know all of this yet, but if you want to, this is for your own edification. Mercury's partner is Jupiter, Jupiter-Mercury. Yes? Mars's partner is Venus. Mars and Venus, they are partners. Saturn is partnered with both the sun and the moon on the ladder of lights. Yes? So, here, Mars is in the zodiacal sign of its partner, Venus, on the same side of the zodiacal wheel, which means Venus rules Taurus on that side of the wheel, so Mars is in Taurus. Does that make sense? If it does not make sense, let me know in the comments below, and I will try to explain it again. Yes, but that's just to tell you what that means when I say something is in its complement. Now, there is also a detriment, which we're not going to get into. If this card were reversed, it would be in the sign of its partner planet on the opposite side of the wheel, which would give us Mars in Libra. And Mars would be less comfortable. The Aries Mars would be even less comfortable in Libra. And that's an entirely different discussion. You don't need to know all of that. Just a little added information for you. Yes? Okay, so friends, we talked about this card, the Two of Wands. Yeah, you kind of get the idea. The fixed nature of Aries, the fixed quality being added to Aries. Yes? So, now I'm going to show you the two major Arcana cards that are here to inform the Two of Wands. Are you ready for that? Here they are. Friends, if you are ready for this level of information, that's great. Keep watching. If you're not, if you already feel a little bit overwhelmed, skip ahead. Yeah, you don't need all of this information to do a Decan walk, but if you are ready, let's dive in to this combination of cards, right? So the Two of Wands lives in the center because that's the way I like to arrange things. On the left-hand side, we're going to have the card, I'm sorry, for you, the left-hand side is, yes, it's over here. On the left-hand side, we're going to have the card for the zodiacal sign. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the card which is keyed to the planet. So, if you remember from last week, the Hierophant is still associated with Aries because that's the way things are in this system. The Sun is associated with the Strength card. Now, if you're saying, what? No, I understand why you're saying that, because probably if you are more familiar with the Golden Dawn, you will say, no, strength is associated with Leo, but no. Okay, why? So, even though I'm using a Smith-Waite deck, I am going to steadfastly, stubbornly as a Leo and a Scorpio rising, keep the original order of these cards. Yes, I know the card has an eight on top of it, but I'm sorry, 8 is justice, 11 is strength. To be able to really match the system that these cards were originally associated with, back with Eliphas Levi and before, the position of these cards when they were attached to the Hebrew alphabet was justice was 8 and strength was 11, and that is the best placement. Why? Well, for one thing, we can match the original or the earlier version. And I had in a video previously, I talked about this, what I think of as an earlier and perhaps more appropriate version of the associations of zodiacal signs, planets, and elements to the Hebrew letters, and through those Hebrew letters to the Tarot. And there's a whole video in my series which I called, Walking the Lines of Origins to Deeper Strata. So if you want to find out about that, go to that series. Okay, so for me, strength is 11, even though I know it's 8 on this card, but still, for me, for this series, strength is 11, and the 11th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Kaf, and Kaf, according to the system of the Sefer Yeserat, the recension that I am using, is associated with the sun. So instead of being Leo, it's the sun, which actually still gives us Leo in a sense, because the sun is the ruler of Leo, right? So if you're all got your panties in a bunch because no, it's got to be Leo, it still kind of is, because it's the sun and the sun rules Leo. Okay? Okay, so what are these cards telling us about the Two of Wands? Let's start with the Hierophant. And I know we talked about it last week, but just briefly, the Hierophant is associated with Aries, so we've got cardinal fires, vital attributes informing the Two of Wands. It's associated with the Hebrew letter He, which gives us the idea of a window, but also the breath, the breath of divine spirit into life. It is where we get inspiration, right? Inspiration, the breathing in. It's the feminine principle of the divine, by the way, yes. And it is both the taking and the giving of self, right? It's creation, it's life force. It's also the path between Keter and Chokmah, which we talked about last week. So what does that mean? Maybe I will put up an image up here of the Tree of Life, which is colored especially for this video. And I've got markings on it here. And I've got it here for myself too. Just as a reminder, because this is a lot of information. Like I said, I'm learning as I go with you. Yes? So, if you recall from last week, the Hierophant joins Keter to Chokmah. Yes? So what does that mean? It connects the divine monad, the unity of all, to wisdom. That's the divine coming, beginning emanation into a universe and starting with wisdom. Yes? And so that informs this Hierophant card. That's the wisdom entering the world through the Hierophant. Also, the rune associated to this was what? Raido, which gives us a new way, a new life, cycles, rhythms of life. We were beginning the cycle of the year with Aries, communication and reconciliation. Now you get the idea of reconciliation with the Hierophant card too, those two acolytes down there below. Yeah, maybe he's mediating between these two acolytes or these two individuals coming for some guidance. Positive traits for that card are leadership qualities, unity, kindness, and generosity. So we have those qualities which can inform the Two of Wands as well. The qualities of generosity and leadership, which we'd already talked about, right? A new way of life, but one that has more stick-to-itiveness, with the fixed aspect having entered Aries through the sun. Yes? We also have the idea of sacrifice with the Paschal Lamb, if you recall. It's also the fire of the sacrifice, the fire of the wands as well. It's a sacrificial fire. Also, the idea of redemption is possible here. But I think especially for this second Decan of Aries, those ideas of the wisdom breaking into the world is important. I think the creative aspect, the feminine creative aspect of Aries is emphasized. I think the ideas of leadership and kindness and the generosity and the giving of self are important for the Two of Wands as well. Yes, we're holding the leadership position and to be able to give of ourselves to those around us. I mean, that's what a good leader does, right? The good leader is not just, hey, look at me and do what I say. A good leader is the servant leader. And so maybe we can bring that into the Two of Wands as well. And now, right beside it, we've got strength. Now, if you look at this chart here, this tree of life here, you can see that strength connects chesed with netzach. Chesed is loving kindness, and netzach is victory. So it connects our heart of loving kindness with the potential for victory here in the real world. It brings our heart of loving kindness into success, which kind of is what that strength card speaks to me in many ways. Yes? You'll also notice in the Tree of Life that central Sephirah, Sephirot, I should say, I think that's the singular, Sephirot, also has strength. You see that gray circle down there towards the center? Now that is Tiphereth, which is associated with the sun. So we also have the sun in the Tree of Life because of the sun being the planet for strength. So we've got two aspects, right? We've got the path from Chesed to Netzach associated with the sun in the strength card, and we have the planet, the sun, in the Tree of Life in Tiphereth. And an interesting thing about Tiphereth is connected to every other Sephirot on the Tree of Life. There's a path from Tiphereth to everything else. There's almost a direct path to everything else, which we cannot say about every other Sephirah. So the heart connects to the entire, and a lot of people point to Tiphereth, which is also beauty. The key word for Tiphereth is beauty, but it's also the heart of the Tree of Life. And it connects to all other parts, if that makes sense. Now, what is the Hebrew letter for the sun card? because I'm placing it at number 11. I told you the letter is Kaf, which kind of looks like this. Yes? And it's associated with the ancient, the really, really, really old. Yeah? But it's also because ancient people, older people, they tend to bend like this, right? Not all older people. I mean, look at Jane Fonda. You don't see her walking around like this, but it's fairly common that older people, women and also men, will start to bend over age, over time. Yes? He says as he tries to straighten himself up. But it's also the bend or the curve of humility that is associated with the letter Kaf. And we can kind of see that in the strength card, don't you think? Kaf is also the Hebrew letter for power, the capacity to both tame and subdue, which works perfectly for the strength card. And this image of the strength card in particular. Now, the other images where you've got the guy or the woman holding up the pillar, it's not so much that. But this image here of the woman with infinity above her head, interacting with the lion, yeah, definitely. The capacity to tame or subdue, 100%. That's Kaf. Also, the need to bend ourselves in modesty. Yeah? And accept others. So, all of those qualities inform the Two of Wands as well, right? Remember, we had that idea of leadership, but maybe we have the potential to be the servant leader, right? To, as leaders, bend ourselves in humility to serve those around us. Or to tame or subdue them, that's also a possible option here as well. Yes? The rune that would be connected to this card, yeah, the 11th rune is Isaz, which looks like a 1. So 11, 1, that's interesting. But Isaz is the rune for ice. And I don't mean the United States, the immigration, horrible organization of policing immigration. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean like winter ice, yeah? Hard water ice. Which also is a reset. It can also mean origins, which is interesting. But even more interesting, I think, for me, is the ideas of concentration and willpower being added into that Two of Wands, strengthening those ideas of willpower and concentration. It's also a standstill, a waiting, which looks like the Two of Wands as well. It can also be a physical or psychological barrier, which could be a potential hazard for the Two of Wands as well. Yeah? Maybe overthinking can become a barrier here for the Two of Wands figure. Does that make sense? But what does the sun mean for Hebrew astrology? So, the sun is reliable. Yeah, the moon is changeable. The sun is reliable. It rises and sets in predictable ways, in predictable places. Yes, it doesn't go retrograde like some other lights in the sky. Mars goes retrograde, Venus goes retrograde, Mercury goes retrograde all the time. The sun never goes retrograde, right? So there's the idea of faithful service with the sun. The faithful service to humanity at God's bidding. The sun provides the energy for life as a service to all of us. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It provides. So maybe that can inform the Two of Wands as being a leader for service a little bit more. There's also the idea of righteousness and wisdom for the strength card, because the sun symbolizes righteousness for the Hebrew astrologers, and the path of the just. Yes? And the sun shines more and more unto the perfect day, is one thing that's quoted from the Hebrew astrological resources that I saw. And it's powerful, and it's beautiful, and it's a consistent instrument of God's providence and God's glory in the world. And it's also power and it's energy. All of that is being fed into the Two of Wands card as well. Does that make sense? Can you see how all of that informs all of each other? Now, you might be wondering, there are a couple of things on this tree that I haven't pointed to. One is that, you see Chokmah? For you it would be, let's see, that's on the right-hand side of the tree, Chokmah. Yeah? I shaded that in. Well, it's in your picture it's yellow. It should be yellow. For me, I printed out in black and white, so it's gray. But yes, Chokmah is yellow. And underneath that Chokmah, you see two, because the aces were Kether, right? The top one. Twos are Chokmah. So what does that tell us about the Two of Wands? And maybe I should have brought this up earlier, but I think this is the best place to mention this part of unpacking the Two of Wands. Its placement on the Tree of Life gives us, again, wisdom. It's divine wisdom entering the world here through Chokmah. And divine wisdom can enter into the world through the Two of Wands. It's still undifferentiated. It hasn't become form by any means, but it's an undifferentiated wisdom beginning to emanate into what will become a universe. If that makes sense. So if you can, if not exactly see, but feel that potential emanating through the Two of Wands, maybe that will be helpful. And that we'll be looking at that idea as we look at all four of the twos. You have the Two of Cups, the Two of Swords, the Two of Pentacles as well. So we've got the idea of divine wisdom emanating, undifferentiated into the world. It will start to take form. It will begin to be differentiated in the threes with Binah. But that's for the next video, okay? Okay, so friends, I did a thing. I laid a spread to help me unpack these three cards. So what did I decide to do? Well, looking at the Hierophant card and remembering a conversation I had earlier this week, the idea of sacrifice seemed to shine for me from the Hierophant. So the first question I asked is, what needs to be sacrificed? For something new to begin, oftentimes we need to sacrifice something else. Something else needs to be set aside or put on the back burner or moved off to the side so that we can have space to begin the new thing, right? So what needs to be sacrificed? I think the response to that question will surprise you. It surprised me. The next question, coming from the Two of Wands, was what is intensifying, right? Because willpower, energy is intensifying in the two to be able to get us to move forward with the things that we started with the one, right? Now, we may not actually be taking those long-range actions yet, but the energy is intensifying so that we can do that. The third question I asked from the Strength card is, what power or capacity do we have in order to do the thing that is intensifying? Does that make sense? So, the three questions, once more, is what needs to be sacrificed? What is intensifying? And then, what power or capacity do we have to follow through? Okay, friends, so let me show you the 3 cards that came up in response to those questions. Here they are. So friends, what you just saw were the 2 different sets of cards, right? On the top, I had the cards we were just looking at from the Smith-Waite. And then on the bottom, we had the response to the questions which were informed by the 3 cards above, right? Okay, so you saw responding to those questions, right? For what needs to be sacrificed, we have the Knight of Cups. For what is intensifying, we have the Tower. Now that's a little scary. Well, it doesn't have to be scary, but we do have the Tower. And then answering what power or capacity do we have to follow through, we had the Hierophant. Yes, we had the Hierophant. That cracked me up. I just got to say, that cracked me up. Having the answer to a spread informed by the Hierophant, generally, being the Hierophant, this is what doing tarot does to us, right? We get these kinds of synchronicities. So let's read these cards together. And I'm keeping up that Tree of Life to refer to because we're going to get to it in just a minute. But let's start off with the Knight of Cups. So what needs to be sacrificed? What do we see here? We see a guy sitting on a bench out in the middle of bloody nowhere. You see on the ground there is a blanket and there is a cup, Knight of Cups, right? And there's what looks like a letter with a heart sealing it, so maybe it's a love letter, leaning against what looks like maybe a pack of some kind. Do you see those things? And also, of course, because he's a knight, there's a horse in the background with one hoof up like that. Beautiful card, beautiful man. The guy's got tattoos, and right now I don't really see what those tattoos are, but we see the roses in his arms. A very romantic figure to me. Maybe he's a romantic figure for you too. Lovely, lovely. I love the hat as well. For me, the Knights of Cups, the Knights are all going to be related to the mutable signs. So mutable water is Pisces. All of the Knights are also, for me, associated with Mars. Okay, so remember how I said at the beginning of this interview, this video, that I was inspired to check the placement of Mars because of the readings I had been doing about the first decan. So this card, and I said Mars is in Pisces. This card, this Knight of Wands, is what? It is Mars in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter. So Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Yes? So it's Jupiter in Pisces. But we're adding, because it's a knight, we're adding Mars to that. So we've got Mars with Jupiter in Pisces. That cracks me up too. Yes? You can't make this up. You can't make this crap up, shit up. I should be comfortable using a little bit of profanity here on this channel. Yes? You can't make this shit up. Yeah, the first answer was Mars in Pisces, which is exactly where Mars is right now. So what needs to be sacrificed? For me, the Knight of Cups points to, again, Mars in mutable water, which is Jupiter in Pisces. So this is action driven by intuition. Yes? And it can be acting on gut feelings, right? The gut is our, I don't know, maybe I'm off camera right now, but our gut, yeah, intestines, that is a watery part of the body, right? The lungs are an airy part of the body. The gut is a watery part of the body, yes? The genitals, though, that's maybe a fiery part of the body. Although generally we would place air up here. Anyways, okay, I went down an unhelpful tangent probably. But anyways, so the gut feeling, right, is Mars in Pisces as well, acting on the gut feeling. Empathy is a power for us with Mars in Pisces. And it's a power to be able to be an advocate for the underdog, which really lands well, I think, for the Knight of Cups. We have a high capacity for self-sacrifice with the Knight of Cups. And I didn't just make that up because I'm answering this question. The Knight of Cups has a capacity to sacrifice themselves for other people. And there's a creative and spiritual expression of self with the Knight of Cups. Visualization is possible. Yeah? Visualizing what can be in the future is possible with the Knight of Cups. Because, of course, the Knight of Cups also rides his, her, their horse out into the future. So what needs to be sacrificed? Maybe what needs to be sacrificed a little bit here, which, remember, we were talking about the Two of Wands as maybe needing to be the servant, the servant leader. Kind of like we describe Jesus Christ, right? The servant leader, the servant master. So what may need to be sacrificed is our self-importance in service of other people with the Two of Wands. Maybe what needs to be sacrificed is our self-interest for the interests of those we are leading. So instead of being the inflated ego holding the world on the top of our castle, look at me, I'm the leader, aren't I wonderful, praise and adore me, we are able to be the servant master, the servant leader. The one who serves to lead, yes? So maybe that's what needs to be sacrificed. The overinflated ego, the self, in service to other people. What is intensifying? Well, the Tower card is pretty darn intense, right? It's probably the most intense card in the deck. What is the Tower? To me, the Tower is associated with the Hebrew letter Ayin, and that puts it on the path. Wait a second. Okay, so let's see, path down to. Okay, so yes, it puts it on the path from Binah to Tiphereth. It puts it on the path from Binah to Tiphereth. I made a little mistake on my chart in front of me. Yes, so I need to fix that for this video. It'll be fixed by the time you see it. Yes, so my little boo-boo. So it joins Binah to Tiphereth. What does that mean? Well, that means that this card joins understanding to beauty. It joins understanding to beauty. So what we understand becomes beautiful. There's a how. How does that work? Well, okay, let's start at the very beginning. Yes? The Tower, for me, because it's associated with Ayin, it is also associated with the zodiacal sign Capricorn. Yes? Capricorn. So we have cardinal Earth's vital attributes entering our 3-card spread here through the Tower. Cardinal Earth. The positive traits of cardinal Earth are contemplation. with Capricorn. Deep understanding and spiritual rectification. Now, being able to get things rectified, rightened, straightened out. Now, you might be thinking, well, how is that possible with Capricorn? Capricorn wants to work hard and move up. But remember, this is a mature sign. This is a mature sign that also does have a spiritual base foundation to its desire to work and move up in status, in position. And the Hebrew letter Ayin, which kind of looks like a Y, yeah, if you ask me, points to the eye, this thing here, and the abilities to see and to understand. Yes? So again, Ayin moves from understanding, Ayin, to beauty, the heart. It moves from understanding to the heart. And it's one path of clarity, of of wisdom that has begun to differentiate and become embodied. If that makes sense. Now that's deep, and maybe it might be too much for you, but just listen, okay? Ayin is also the eye of the light of God, the eye of God as well. It's insights, it's perception, and it's inner vision. And what does that have to do with the tower? So in this one, it really looks like the lightning is coming down to strike the tree here, right? But in some decks, it kind of looks like the fire is bursting out of the tower. There's an idea or a feeling of escape from the tower. There's a breaking out of energy. As well as maybe a breaking in of divine energy to this tower, which has been constructed and is maybe confining and is tight and it's hard. And the time has come to break free and break out. Yes? So what is intensifying? What's intensifying is the inbreaking and the indwelling wisdom of the divine into our lives, into our experiences in the world. At least it's the potential. Moving from understanding to beauty, from where the heart, the sun, resides, right? Because remember, Tipreth is associated with the planet the sun, which is associated with the card strength, which we saw earlier in the video. Now, there's also a rune that can be associated with the tower, which is Sowilo, which kind of looks like an S. And Sowilo is associated with, guess what? Sowilo is associated with the sun. Tipreth, the sun associated with the strength card. The sun is also associated through the rune to the tower card as well. Also interesting. In addition to things like success and honor and knowledge and wit and victory. Yes? And remember, we had the idea of victory in the strength card, which joined the loving kindness sephira of Chesed to victory in Netzach, which you can see on this chart over here. Do you remember that? Okay, so what does that mean for the tower? So, in Hebrew astrology, Capricorn is an atonement, a sacrificial atonement sign. Yes? So remember, there was the lamb that is sacrificed on the altar, which was pointed to by the Hierophant. Remember that? There was also another kind of sheep that was used, called the scapegoat. So there were sheep, rams that were used for sacrifice, And then there were another, maybe one, depending on the size of the community, maybe more, I don't know. There was another sheep or ram that was appointed as the scapegoat, which means that all of the community's sins were symbolically placed on this sheep or ram, and that sheep or ram was sent out into the wilderness to run away with all of those sins and evils, so they leave the community. And that is what we get the idea of a scapegoat from. That goat was not actually the one that was killed, it was the one that was sent to run away. And that's what is associated with the tower through Capricorn. Yes? So that idea of scapegoat, the carrying away of sins for our atonement. Yes? Also having the spiritual tools to navigate times of difficulty and hardship, and the cleansing of being able to cleanse ourselves is part of the tower. And you can think of this lightning not as destruction all the time, but as sometimes as the cleansing, the breaking apart of the stuff that has precipitated around us, that is accreted around us, that confines and binds us down. Yes? There's maybe a cleansing of all of that from us, a sloughing off of all of that. And we have the spiritual tools to now navigate forward. It's also the spiritual ambition to ascend to higher levels of consciousness and the connection with the divine. Right? So a lot of us think of Capricorn as working hard to become the CEO, the top boss, right? But what if Capricorn was the one climbing the mountain to reunite with the divine instead? Think of that as the Capricorn part of the tower. That breaking open, the reconnection with the pure lightning bolt of divine energy as our egos crack open. And it's also, Capricorn has a balance, because Capricorn is part fish and part land animal, right? That's a goat with a fish tail. You remember that? So there's a balance between the grounded aspect of the goat, the ambitious earthly nature, and the deep, emotional, spiritual waters of the subconscious with the fish butt. Yes? So there's a balance between earthly accomplishments and desires for accomplishment and the deep, unconscious, fishy part of Capricorn with the tower. And so maybe that can help us inform the Two of Wands. What is intensifying? Intensifying our desire to reunite with the divine, our desire to open to deep spiritual wisdom through the waters of the unconscious. It's the desire to cleanse ourselves of the stuff that has grown up around us maybe over winter. To send all of that stuff away and arrive fresh, to move closer to the divine. Yes? Does that make sense? And then we move right into the Hierophant again. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that. We just went through the Hierophant earlier in this video. But look at this card. Remember, the Hierophant with the window, it's the breath of the divine coming in. It's the path between wisdom and the divine monad in the tree of life. So it could be the breaking in, the entering of the divine, undifferentiated with wisdom into the nascent, the beginnings of a universe. But sometimes these paths can go the other way. It could be our wisdom reaching up to the monad of the divine. So maybe the path is from Kether to Chokmah, but sometimes it's Chokmah back to Kether, right? And if you look at this card with the Hierophant, and the question is, what power or capacity do we have? We have the power and the capacity with our innate wisdom to reach back up and to move back up in the direction of the divine. Energized by the power of the divine coming into us as the understanding of Binah enters the heart and beauty of our strength, right? As we are the servant leaders of the Two of Wands. And see how he laughs, that laughing, that energized laughing in meditation of connection with the one, the all, the monad of the divine, the unity of all that is. Yes? And our wisdom, whether we actually elevate or we realize that there is no need for elevation because there is nowhere to go. We are here. We are the divine. And maybe it's that realization. Yes? So what is intensifying now? What power or capacity do we have to follow through, to fulfill? Right? Our leadership qualities, yes. Our unity, kindness, generosity, yes, with the Hierophant. The creative, divine aspects of ourselves, but also that connection with the divine, of Chokmah with Kether, of our wisdom, which is never disconnected from the divine monad of Kether. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If you need something else, let me know in the comments below. I would really love to hear from you. And again, I just want to remind you, you don't have to absorb all of this in one sitting. You don't have to understand it all right now, right? We've got 10 days to sit with this, to absorb what we can, and know that there's another year that we can revisit these ideas later. And there's a lot here, yes, I know. So, we absorb what we can, we let the rest sit, and maybe it will... What is that called? In the especially Roman Catholic tradition, which is the one I studied for my master's degree, it's called formation, yeah? When an adult decides to become Christian, especially Catholic Christian, they go through a period of formation before baptism, yes? And so we're going through a formation right now with the tarot and astrology. So that doesn't mean you understand everything right at the beginning, right? So we absorb what we can, accept that a lot of this information has come into our unconscious and is resting there waiting for it to click into place when the time is right, as we move through the formation of the zodiacal year and our walk through these decans on a different kind of decan walk. Yes? Okay, friends. I'll stop now. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on this walk. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing and hitting the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload these videos. Thank you for commenting in the comment section. Thank you for doing all of those things you do, because of you, other people find us and our community grows, and it has been growing because of you. So friends, thank you. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.